We have been in the midst of coronavirus for nearly the whole of 2020. What will the new normal really look like, and will we have a new normal? And that is the topic of today's Future Talk with Shara Evans. So welcome, Shara.
Hello, Liz. Great to see you.
Good to see you. So will we have a new normal?
Well, I think we're in flux. And let me just share a couple of things on my screen with you. So in terms of a new normal, work from home, disinfectant, temperature taking, masks, all of that is happening. And really, the way I see it, we're in a state of absolute constant flux. Until we actually have a handle on this disease, I don't think we're really going to have any kind of new normal that's a definable new normal until we know what's happening with the disease and we actually have medications that can prevent us from getting sick, and we end the lockdowns and get back to some kind of semblance of normality, whatever that new normal happens to be. But there are a couple of things that I would say are definitely going to be part of our lives. One is remote working. I think it's going to be here to stay. I don't see an end to this anytime soon. Even if we magically came out with a coronavirus vaccine tomorrow, it's not going to be delivered to over 7 billion people on this planet tomorrow. And there will be a whole bunch of people who have medical conditions or other reasons why they would be reluctant to take something that's brand new. And not only that, but who knows with this virus whether it might mutate, and the vaccine that we developed today may not be effective against a strain that has slightly mutated, just like the common flu does every year. And we might be in this state of on and off, and lockdowns. Here in Australia, I feel so sorry for all of my friends in Melbourne and Victoria. They've just been stuck, literally inside of their homes. But irrespective of that, we're all getting used to working from home. And I think that's going to be part of whatever this new normal actually happens to be. Now, to do this effectively, companies are going to need to do a number of things to help their staff work effectively from home. I think, if this continues to stretch out, companies will need to look a lot more seriously about the ergonomics of home office space, and maybe even helping people with putting the right furniture in. If they haven't already got their own company laptops or computers, they might have to make investments so people have the right equipment at home. They might have to help people by being big monitors so that we can be as productive at home as we are in an office. I think that there will also be aspects of companies needing to look after the extra cost affiliated with childcare, if that's available, or even pet care. And once we start to go back into the office, I think that the best way of doing it, and there are other people that I've listened to that agree with this, by the way, is in clusters or staggering. And one way of doing that is by letting, say, a department of, several people, let's say in the IT department, come in and then see how that goes, and then you let some more people. And that way, if there is a problem, you're able to contain it. So what do you think about that, Liz?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big factor. I know that organisations have been sued because someone was not this year, but someone was wearing socks and slipped in their home, but because it was at work, because it was work time and they were doing work, the organisation still had their workplace. So I think there will be more organisations having to do assessments to make sure that even though they're working at home, they're still working safe and they've got their duty of care.
Yeah, and there may even be payments that are made to employees for using their home workspace their home for a workspace, because when you're working from home, you're using electricity and, you know, all sorts of other things that incur real cost, or you may have to reorganize your house and pay to have things done so that you've got a proper working environment. And the question is it fair for an employee to pay for that, or should a company pay for it?
Yeah, exactly.
Show you something else related to the same topic. And that has to do with the impact that COVID is having on CBD businesses and jobs and real estate. Gosh, what a mess. There are so many small businesses that are just absolutely under pressure. And, you know, luckily here in Australia, we do have JobKeeper, which helps a little bit. But with so many people working from home, the big companies whose staff would normally frequent a lot of businesses in CBD areas just aren't getting the traffic. And a lot of them think that they just are never going to get back to pre-pandemic levels, even after we discover a vaccine, because of this new way of working where we might be spending part of our time in an office eventually and a part of our time at home. So there's going to be a really big impact that is long-term on both corporate real estate, small business, and keeping afloat.
Absolutely. And I was even talking about this, as you know, I focus mainly on social media. And we were talking about this yesterday with a couple of clients in the sense of, I think real estate is really going to be focused now on Instagram photos. And renting out properties that are absolutely stylish and magnificent by the hour for people to come in, do their product photos, or, you know, for their websites or Instagram, or for any digital communications, and then they go back to their warehouse or their home. But I think there is going to be a lot of those pop-up stores or pop-up styled photography layouts, and I think that's where the real estate is probably going to go, because we're losing that element of having offices.
That's fascinating. There's one last thing that I'd like to share with you, which is a new technology development that will enable people or help enable people going back into the office. I'm going to share my screen again, and that is a disinfectant door. And this is a relatively new development, and I'm just going to play a short video in the background.
Jobs liquid disinfectant solution, and the fog and spray time keep adjusted. It can also monitor the temperature of the personnel with the installation of the body temperature detector and the thermal imaging temperature detector. The whole stainless steel material is resistant to rot and deformation, and it has beautiful appearance. Moreover, it is light and movable. The operation of the equipment is intelligent control, and it doesn't need special personnel to operate.
So that's a new innovation, and I'm starting to see a couple of companies that come out with it. And in fact, these doors, if you look at how people would use it, it's almost like going through a security scan in an airport where you sort of stick your hands up, you turn yourself around. But that might be one way that we can start making it a little bit safer to go into bigger office buildings or into commercial, you know, real estate, like, you know, malls and shopping centers and so on. And some of the price points are actually quite low on these. I've started to investigate, and there are a few companies doing it. The one that I happen to show is a company that does a lot of air purification, you know, medical type devices anyway. But I think that's an interesting innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's our new normal will be more washing hands and cleaning ourselves every time we go into a new place. And making it easier is going to make life easier.
But who wants to go through a security scan like you do at an airport just to get into a store every time?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
So I think we've run out of time, haven't we?
We run out of time.
Oh my gosh, it goes so fast. So great to see you. Thank you, Liz. Have a
no
great
worries.
week. Bye.
See ya.